Part A requires us to show that the equation has a solution between 2 and 3. So the way we'll do this is we'll substitute 2 into the equation, and then we'll substitute 3 into the equation, and hopefully those two answers will be either side of 0. Okay, so substituting 2 in first of all, that'll give me 2 cubed minus 3 lots of 2 minus 5. Now 2 cubed is 8, minus 6, minus 5. 8 minus 6 is minus 2, minus 5 makes minus 3. Let's now substitute 3 in. So 3 cubed minus 3 times 3 minus 5. 3 cubed is 27, minus 3 times 3, which is 9, minus 5. 27 minus 9 is 18. 18 minus 5 is 13. Now I was looking for an answer of 0 because the question said find where the solution is 0. We put 2 into our equation and that was a negative value. We put 3 into our equation and that gave us a positive value, so we can therefore conclude that the solution is definitely between 2 and 3. And I'm going to write that down. Okay, so part B is asking me to now show that the equation that they've given me can be rearranged into this other format. And the reason why it's asked me to do that is then because part C is going to ask me to use iteration to try and work out the actual answer correct to 3 decimal places. So I'm going to tell you a bit of a trick here. You could rearrange the actual equation on the left in a number of ways. You could start by adding 5 to both sides. You could factorise here by an x. You could add 3x. You could do all sorts. But a very easy trick to do is to start with the solution, or what they want you to end up with, and that's this on the right, and to work backwards. So I'm going to start with this solution and work backwards. Well, this solution's got a square root on the right hand side, which I definitely don't want, so the first thing I'm going to do is square both sides. That'll give me x squared on the left equals 5 over x plus 3. Okay, so now on the right hand side I've seen that I've got a 5 over x. Well, that wasn't in the original one. So what I'm going to do now is multiply both sides of the equation by x. On the left that'll give me x cubed, and on the right, when I multiply by x, I'll end up with 5 here, add 3x. And then finally you'll see that from there, to get back to the start, all I need to do is move everything over to the left hand side. So that'll give me x cubed minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. And that's exactly what it asked me to get to in the question. So I think what I'll do now is just rewrite out those 3 steps, but I'm going to write them in the reverse order, showing how I get from the start to what it wanted me to show. Step 1 in the green, step 2 in the blue, and step 3 in the purple. Okay, so finally part C. Starting with x0 equals 2, use the iteration formula, which you'll see is pretty much the same as the rearrangement that we've just done, to find a solution of this equation. What we're going to do is use this special formula here, this iteration formula. And this here simply means that the next term equals the square root of 5 divided by the previous term at 3. So it's telling me that the very initial term is 2. That's the value that we're starting with. So what we're going to do is put that into the equation to work out the next term. So this is the 0th term, or the starting term, so the next term will be the first one. So it's square root of 5 divided by the previous term, which is 2, and then add 3. So I'll do that on the calculator, and that gives me an answer of 2.3452 ... It goes on and on and on. Now I need to continue to do this until I get my answers correct to 3 decimal places. So you'll see I've written down 4 decimal places. That's definitely going to help me with my rounding. So now to work out x2, I use a formula again, which is 5 over the previous answer, which is now 2.34, etc. And I'll not round it on my calculator, but I will round it there, and then add 3. And again, I'll do that on my calculator. And I get 2.2653. I'm going to do this again to work out x3. So x3 is shown here, 2.2819, x4, 2.2784, x5, 2.2791, and x6, 2.2789. Now I keep carrying on until I end up with 2 terms which round correctly to 3 decimal places. I've written down 4 decimal places to help with this. Now you'll see that x5 rounds to 2.279, and the 1 afterwards will mean it still stays as 2.279. x6 rounds to 2.27, and this time the 9, which appears after the 8, rounds that 8 up to 9. So both of those solutions are 2.279, and therefore I can confidently say that the solution is x equals 2.279, correct to 3 decimal places. Now what's really important with this question is you don't round it too early. If you'd rounded it after the first value, after just x1, would have ended up with 2.245. That was close to the answer, but it isn't the answer. So I keep repeating the process by doing square root of 5 divided by the previous answer and then add 3. Over and over and over, being careful not to round my answer at any point, and the answer button on your calculator can help with this until we get 2 answers which round to the same value. And x5 and x6 both round to this, therefore I am confident that that is the solution. Okay, so here's a question for you to do. Each answer will come up one at a time. So pause now before you see the answer to part A. Okay, so for part A we're going to substitute in 1 and 2 and hopefully show that there's a sign change, that 0 is between the 2 answers. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so substituting in 1 gave me -2, substituting 2 gave us 7. We're looking for 0, so 0 is between those values, therefore we can say that the solution is between 1 and 2. Okay, pause again before you see the answer to part B. Okay, so if you remember, the best way to do these is to start with the rearrangement and work backwards. Cube both sides, and rearrange to make it equal the original equation. Then remember to rewrite the instructions out on the left hand side in the correct order. Okay, all done. Finally, use the iteration. So starting with an initial value of 1, we want to find a value of the solution to this equation correct to 3 decimal places. Pause again before the answer comes up. So x1 is the cube root, or the next term is the cube root of 5 minus 2 lots of the previous. The cube root of 5 minus 2 lots of the previous one, which is 1. This gives me 1.4422. I'm going to do it again and again and again until we get the numbers which round correctly to 3 decimal places. So x1 was 1.4422, x2 1.2837, and I kept going. I haven't shown any more working out because I'm now looking for a solution. I've already shown my method. x3, we've got x4, x5, x6. All of these don't round correctly to 3 decimal places consecutively. x7, x8, x9. Now if you look very carefully at x8 and x9, you'll see that these do round correctly to 3 decimal places to the same value, because they both round to 1.328. So that is the solution to this iteration equation.